Way back to the beginning, there are parallel tracks. I want to tell you that the city of Aurora and the city of Denver got together and created LRA, the Lowry Redevelopment Authority, and gave them the authority to develop this land. The last time that you and I as taxpayers had any ownership in the Lowry Vista land is when the Air Force owned it, and we as citizens of the United States of America, taxpaying to the federal government, had a piece of whatever the Air Force does. After LRA came into being, you and I were out of the picture. The city has not been involved in any transaction between LRA and any developer. We have never intervened in what the cost of the property was, who the title was passed on to. It hasn't been a city issue. It hasn't been a piece that the city of Denver or you as a taxpayer has had. We delegated that ownership over to the LRA to administer. So whether it went for just a transfer of title with a $10 token, there was not a point of intercession. I didn't know until after the fact, nor did I question anyone for not letting me know before the fact. That's one path that got us there. The other path that got us there was when this was first presented by LRA as a plan for the overall development. This was indicated as being open space. And it was assumed that the golf course would extend over the landfill. When the Air Force refused to spend enough money on the cap to put a cover over it deep enough to support an irrigation system so you could water the turf of a golf course, when they refused to do that, the golf course could not extend there. So LRA approached the city and said, we hope your park system will take this on as open space, a natural area of open space. The city attorneys said that the city could not take that land because it is a landfill that will take monitoring forever and ever. Because it is a landfill that will take monitoring forever and ever, and the city's charter precludes Denver from taking on an unfunded mandate. And further said to LRA, don't you walk away from your existence whenever you expire because the rest of the land has been transferred to some kind of ownership, and leave that there. You make sure somebody has the responsibility for that land, because we don't want to get it later by default any more than we want to get it now. It is not to become city open space. That's the legal opinion, and that was the direction given to LRA. So then LRA, I think then I have to ask IRG to pick it up from there, because I wasn't in the room, but that's the way the city attorneys have given forth that history. And this was all done in public August 25th when IRG came to get the Metropolitan District. That was the right August date, wasn't it? It was a 3.5-hour hearing. All of City Council asked lots of questions. They had all read all these stories in the papers, and they had heard from citizens, and they wanted clarification why it wasn't still open space, why we went through all that history. The full City Council was brought up to date, and the summary of that testimony before we voted on whether or not to authorize IRG to the Lowry Vista become a metropolitan district was summarized by Councilwoman Jeannie Fotts, who looked at the audience and said, I understand why you wish it could be open space, but now we understand why it can't be, and turned to IRG and said, I am very glad that you have come forward to be responsible, and further, I think, and then according to the vote, the vote was, I believe that metropolitan districts are the best relief to the city taxpayer, because the city taxpayers will never maintain any of the property on Lowry Vista. The metropolitan district will, by taxing the owners of the subsequent owners of all the property there. So the city will not maintain streets. The city will not go after any liability that's found, any leak in the cap that creates any kind of, that will all be a responsibility of the Metropolitan District, who in turn can look back to the Air Force if they think they need to. That's pretty comprehensive, I hope, in getting us up to this.
Anything else? Marcia, why you are supporting this is just beyond all comprehensive and sense of common sense. And I can tell you tonight, none of these developers, I talked with Monica Sheets of the Health Department the other night, IRG has not sat down with the State Health Department nor the Air Force to date. The Air Force keeps saying, when are we going to see a specific plan? You all have not presented it. The Health Department still has not seen a specific plan. So, John, it is wrong for you to say that the ground rule tonight is to talk about the GDP. Because you're way ahead of the curve, and all this is doing is trying to rezone this property so IRG can unload it. There's no percentage of value in that for anybody in this room, anybody who lives on Lowry, or anybody who lives in the surrounding neighborhoods. It's specious, and it's mean, and it's got to be stopped.
Thanks for your comments.